Good afternoon. Today we're starting Unit 2 with PO7. It is a power objective, so we're starting off nice and strong with those power objectives. I can compare and order rational numbers. So think about what we know about those rational numbers that we learned in our last unit. Rational numbers can be positive or negative. They can be fractions. They can be decimals that end or repeat. So we are going to be putting them in order. So there are many methods you can use to compare and order rational numbers, but first let's review our comparing symbols. So this first symbol means what? Henry? Look carefully. Less than. We always read from left to right. So it means this first number is less than our second number. The open end of our symbol always wants to gobble up the bigger number. Yeah, I always think about it like that.
Like less than or greater than.
Yeah.
I think of it as bigger number gets gobbled up.
Yep. The bigger number gets eaten by the bigger end. And I learned it as a crocodile too. It's the crocodile's mom. So, always reading from left to right. So less than means that first number is smaller than the second number. So that means this one that's gobbling up on the left is greater than. Thank you so much to my friends who have very quiet chairs. And when we are moving those chairs, especially while I am recording, we are silent. And then our equal sign means obviously equal to. So remember, we all read from left to right. Is that first number on the left smaller or bigger? If it's smaller, it is less than. You'll have the little tip pointing to it. If it is the bigger number, you will have the crocodile wanting to chomp it up because it's hungry. It wants the big number. Henry?
I think of it as Pac-Man, and when it's less than, Pac-Man's eating a ghost, and when it's greater than, Pac-Man's running away from a ghost. It's facing the other way.
Whatever works for you. I've never thought of it that way, but that's what works for you. You keep with it. Here are some things to try when comparing the values of rational numbers. I'm not sure why there is any talking. Nobody wants their name called out on the recording. Nobody should be trying to work ahead on anything. We should be listening. So, listening skills, please. Number one, convert your values to the same form. It's hard to compare some fractions with some decimals, knowing which was where. So put them all in the same form. Make them all fractions or make them all decimals. Easy to compare when they're the same style. Number two, integers. Compare them using a number line. Positives and negatives. Think about where it is on the number line. Especially with those negative numbers. We know 10 is bigger than 7, but what if they're negative numbers? Remember, the farther to the left we go, think about that thermometer when we are going down, down, down. Negative 40 is a smaller number than negative 5. Negative 5 is warmer, so it's a bigger number. The warmer the number on the thermometer, the greater the value. The colder the number on the thermometer, the smaller the number. So negative 40, we stay home from school, very small number. Negative 5, we still go out for recess. It's warmer, it's a bigger number. So think about those negative numbers on that number line. Fractions, you can compare your values to 0, half, or 1. So we don't have to get a common denominator to compare those values, but we know if we have 1/6 and 3/5 and 7/8, 1/5, there's only 1 out of 5. So it's going to be close to 0. 3/5 is almost a half, and 7/8 is almost 1 whole. So we don't need common denominators there. 8 and 5 don't have the common denominator, but we know that 7/8 is going to be bigger. Well,
So can you like round it like that?
what I do is I go, oh, this is like 0, this is like a half, that's like 1. So I can put them in order looking at where they're at between 0, half, and 1. So yes. Addie,
For the integers one, you and the like for the negatives, you could just think of it like instead of the this like it's like how in great like numbers, positive numbers are what like 5 is bigger than 1, but it could you would think of it like opposites.
yes.
Just opposite.
Yes, when you're doing negative numbers, it is opposite way. Yes, you are correct. All right, and then decimals. Remember, we can stack those decimals, adding zeros to fill in the empty digits. So we can compare the digits in the columns from left to right. So starting with that bigger number, the tens place, then the hundreds place, then the thousands place. James, please stop. So do not just look at how far away the denominator is from the numerator. 2/5 is very different from 37/40, even though they're both 3 away, right? So 2 is 3 away from the 5, and 37 is 3 away from the 40. But what is 2/5 close to? 0, a half, or 1? It's close to a half. What is 37/40 close to? 1. So they are not equal to each other. 2/5 is a lot smaller than 37/40. Okay, so don't just look at that numerator and denominator. Compare them to 0, half, and 1. So think about what would it be if it was close to 0? What would it be if it's close to half? What would it be if it's close to 1 whole? So our first section is comparing our integers. Is -7 less than, greater than, or equal to -10? Addie?
Greater than.
-7 is bigger, because remember those negative numbers, we're getting closer to 0. Closer to 0, the warmer we are, the bigger it is. 2.
Couldn't you, like, if they're both negative numbers, couldn't you, oh wait, no, works. I was gonna say, find, which one has the, I don't know.
Okay, but you understand why we're gonna look at it this way. So you can think about it when they're negative numbers, think about the thermometer. The colder it is, the smaller it is. Okay, so whichever number's colder is the smaller number. Gabe? -4 and 2, what is it? Say it louder. Yeah, -4 is a lot colder than a +2, so it is less than. The farther to the right on our number line, the greater our number is. Let's do one more. Claire?
-2 is greater than
-2 is greater than -9. It is a warmer temperature. It is a bigger number. You're going to do the rest on your own. Let's look at our next section. Order the integers. So you're going to put them in order from least to greatest. So the smaller number goes first, the biggest number goes last. Put them in order. On our next page, now we're comparing decimals. So start with the farthest place to the left and go to the right. So if we're at 1.34 and 1.5, they both have 1s in the ones place. So then look at your tenths place. Which one's greater than, which one is less than, or are they equal? And there will be some that are equal. So see if you can find those. Then we're going to order those decimals from least to greatest. And now we're comparing our fractions. So again, think about zeros, halves, and ones. So let's look at this. 3/6. Is that 0, half, or 1? And it actually is a half, isn't it? What about 5/10? That is actually a half too. So this one is actually equal to. So let's look at our next one. 3/8 and 7/12. So think about what is half of 8? 4. So if it was a half, it would be 4/8. So 3/8 is a little bit smaller than half. Look at 7/12. Is 7/12 smaller than a half or greater than a half? Greater, because we know a half is 6/12, so 7/12 is actually greater than a half. So 7/12, because it's bigger than a half, is our bigger number.
Oh,
Yeah,
that looks easy. This is actually really easy.
I know. And see how much it helps when we're listening and paying attention instead of trying to work ahead. We catch on to those little tricks, so it's going to be easy to do our work. On the bottom, if you have an improper number and a mixed number, so if we look at this 13/4 and 2 3/4, you're going to want to make them either both improper or both mixed numbers, so you can compare them.
Good afternoon, students. These are
And
your
then
Thursday afternoon announcements.
Ordering from these
We are looking
greatest on
forward
the
to a
bottom.
curriculum active whole night tonight for your parents and families. That means you need to leave